Welcome back to One on One with Mr. U. Of course, I'm your host, Mr. U. I got a guest in the house. I don't know how to even describe him. Financial genius. I'm not quite sure how to describe this man, but David Nassief is in the house with us. He's the author of the One-Page Wealth Compass, and I think he's a financial genius. David Nassief is here with us. But before we get started, and you guys get a chance to hear his story, if you're watching, listening for the very first time, first off, thanks again for making us part of your week. We are live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube, right now. After the show's over, probably maybe about in 2 weeks, we'll have the audio version of this show. It'll be on all the listening platforms like Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Pandora. I think we're scheduled for about May 13th for that to come out on audio side. But everything else will be live on social media. David, thanks for being here, brother. Thanks for making us a part of your day. How are you?
Great, Mr. U. I'm so excited about being here with you today. Thank you for having me.
Same here, man. Same here. Can't wait. We had a great conversation off-site before we got into this convo. But before we get into your story and all the intricate details, man, tell us a little bit about your childhood, where you come from. How'd you get from where you were then to where you are now today?
Well, I'm actually from a very small town in Ohio called Ashtabula, Ohio. It's on Lake Erie near Cleveland.
Never heard of it.
And grew up there, and it's a great little town to be from. I love that place. And I had a great childhood. Been married for now 38 years to a wonderful wife. And I failed twice in business in my 40s. So that put some scars on me that made what we're going to talk about today even more difficult. But, it's all part of learning, and I'm grateful for everything. All of my experiences all help me understand better and do better going forward.
I love that, man. I love the transparency, too. But I want to touch on that coming up next, because not many folks, when people come on our show, not just my show, but people in our podcast network, we always get the highlights. And as a matter of fact, social media is like that, too. You get the highlights of everything good that happened to people. But the bad stuff, people don't want to talk about it. They sugarcoat it. They downplay it. Yeah. But you're going to go into it in more detail. You said you failed twice in business in your 40s.
Yeah.
When people have done that, they usually don't come back for any more. Because for them to in my 40s, that's enough. I feel that life, I'm going into a different trade. But you didn't do that. Tell us a story about how you failed at business twice in your 40s and how you bounced back from that.
Well, basically, the first time I was in the wrong kind of thing for me, and it plunged me in a deep six-figure debt that took me years to get out of. The second time, I just made some mistakes that I hadn't learned yet that I needed to learn, and that one ended much quicker in about 6 months. I was out of business in 6 months. So, but both of those at the time, they left me with real serious emotional scars. And I says, okay, hey, some people are meant to be entrepreneurs. Some people aren't. I guess I'm just one of those who isn't. Okay. And that's fine. I can live with that. But little did I realize those lessons were in the back of my mind, and they would come later in life and literally save me. And I'm grateful for that experience. As rough as it was a necessary learning experience that cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars, but it was worth every penny of that education, every penny.
I heard you had a bit of a Rocky type story. Everybody loves a good Rocky story. I mean, the comeback hit. I mean, in that movie, that man was getting pounded in the face constantly.
That's me. That's me.
Then somehow he found the intestinal fortitude to come back and defeat Apollo Creed and even Drago and all the people. So I want to hear it, but I want to ask you about this first, though, before we get into that. Sure. Right. At age 63, something strange happened. It doesn't happen to normal 63-year-olds. You were fired from an 18-year corporate position.
Yes.
The last time I heard something like that happen was in 2020, when a lot of people got fired from long-time jobs. Yep. Tell us the story about this, man. This is crazy. At 63, you feel like you're almost at the end. You're like, okay, exactly. I did my bid in the corporate job in this Fortune 500. I'm almost done. It's a little while longer, and then I'm done. Got my little nest egg. I'm out of here. I'm retiring.
Yeah.
3 years old. Explain why that's crazy to me. Explain this, brother.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, you mentioned a financial genius earlier. I think most people say a financial idiot. 40 years of making decent money, and that's what I had to show for myself when I was fired at 63. I should have had it all made. I did the math, Mr. And it was brutal. If we had drained all of our savings and all of our retirement, we were scheduled to be broke by 65. When most people are having a party and sitting back and saying it's time to really enjoy the fruits of our labor, we would be out in the streets, or I don't know what. It would have been a disaster. And so that was real. Like I said, I wouldn't wish that day on anybody, but here's the hardest part of it. That was very hard. I'm not going to, getting fired. But the hardest part was driving home that day thinking, how am I going to tell my wife, Mary? We'd been married for 30 years. She did not deserve the mess I just threw our life into. I felt like such a loser. So anyways, after a couple months of dead-end job searching, I was going nowhere. I mean, no one wanted to hire me. I didn't want to go back in the corporate world, but I need to put food on the table. I need to keep a roof over our head. I just didn't have the luxury of saying, well, okay. So I kept pounding on doors and nothing was happening. Everyone was confirming to me that the first company that fired me, they did the right thing because I was of no value to the corporate world anymore. So anyways, I decided I need to take a huge risk. And I went to work as an independent sales agent on straight commission, no salary, no safety net, no benefits. It was my own company, basically. And the first months were brutal. Cold calls, constant rejection, rookie mistakes. I heard more no's in those 2-month period than I don't think in any other 2-month period of my life. But you know what? As I look back on this, I realized something. I realized that resistance I was getting, those no's I was getting, was helping me develop the mental muscles I needed to punch through that dark period of my life. After 10 months of grinding, I hit an incredible milestone. I was suddenly making more money than my good paying corporate salary. And for a very brief moment, I felt like I made it. We arrived. But then I realized we didn't make nothing. I was making good money most of my life. And look where it got me, on the verge of financial collapse. I said, I need to learn how to invest. I need to learn how to build wealth. I could make money, but I didn't know how to build wealth. So I didn't have time to make mistakes. I didn't have time to get a lot of conflicting information. So I dug deep my own self. I did my research. I read 21 books on financial planning. I listened to 13 podcasts consistently. I read blogs. I read newsletters. Every time I got a good idea, I put it on this one piece of paper. I kept putting these ideas. When the paper filled up and I had another better idea, I had to take the worst one off and replace it with a better one. I kept refining that sheet down to a laser-focused one-page compass. It was a set-it-and-forget-it approach because I didn't have time to fool with my investments. I had a company to run. And what happened was, after 6 years, I did what I thought was impossible. From terrified, and I mean terrified of being broke, to a 7-figure portfolio and real financial freedom. I now know it is never too late to rewrite your story. Because if I can pull that off starting as late as 63, anybody can with the right direction. And I truly believe that. And I know that to be true.
Yeah, that story is astounding. I want to flesh it out a little bit more. What do you think, man, if you don't mind getting into it a little bit, what do you think?
No.
What would you attribute to your inability at first to maintain finances? Because I always feel like there's a root cause for everything that we experience. A lot of folks don't want to deal with that because it's too painful to get into those areas. That's the area that you don't want the doctor to touch because it hurts. But like, you want him to fix it, you don't want him to touch it. So that's kind of weird. But what do you think? What would you attribute the I don't want to say lack of financial acuity. I don't want to say you didn't have it.
Financial stupidity. Let me say the word. Financial stupidity for 40 years. That's the word. Okay, I'll save you some time to look for it.
Where did it come from, though? I mean, what do you think was the reason why that was there?
I'm so glad you asked that question because at the time this was happening to me, I heard this true story, and it was like an answer to a prayer. It really was a story. And let me just tell you briefly. It's very short. Scientists at the Max Planck Institute did an experiment. And what they did is they placed people in the center of a dense German forest. And they told them to walk in a straight line to the edge. Now, these were confident and capable people. But when the clouds covered the sun and they lost their point of reference, the GPS tracking showed they were gradually starting to walk in circular motions. Some of them were actually ending up right back where they began. And yet each and every one of them was absolutely convinced they were walking in a perfectly straight line the whole time. That is my life story financially for 40 years. I was working hard, making decent money, doing what I thought was good investment stuff, and it was absolutely going in circles financially, landing me on a financial cliff at the age of 63. And when everything came together, getting fired and no money, and it was a perfect storm in my life. And I said to myself, that story told me I need a compass, but not a mental compass like people that travelers do. I needed a one-page compass to keep it a simple set it and forget it, keep me on the right path, keep me in the right direction. And I was inspired at that moment. I need to make a compass. I didn't make a compass to write a book. I didn't make a compass to tell other people. I made a compass for survival. for my own survival. And it saved me. It saved me financially in a way I never dreamed was possible. Never.
Wow, man. So what does that say about the system?
Oh my gosh, there is so much conflicting information out there. People, Wall Street, they want to make it complicated for you. So you have to hire them and give them a piece of your pie. I had no more pie to give. I did everything stupid for all those years. I'm telling you, people need to understand that I'm not pointing fingers at anyone, but Wall Street, a lot of people on Wall Street, they're not in it to help you. They're in it to make it complicated so you don't understand it. So you feel like you need them to help you to get out of this, and you don't need them. It's really simple. It's incredibly simple. That's why I wrote the book. I says, people got to understand this is not complicated. You don't need a complex financial planner or advisor. I'm not against them all, but I'm just saying most people can do it themselves and save a ton of money and make a lot more money.
Okay, I want to get into this, but I want to ask you a question first. I want you to, I know you may not be able to share everything you've done in the company. You may want to share that with somebody who you counseling.
I'm going to give the compass to everybody free on your show. So don't worry about it. I'm not here to hide nothing. So I'll tell him.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. I'm going to ask this question. What do you think are the usual alibis that people make about embracing financial health? What are the things that you've been seeing, even if you experienced it yourself or you heard it from others? What are the usual alibis that people always make about when faced with having to embrace financial health?
Well, I think a lot of people will do this. They'll say to you, oh, if I made as much money as you, David, or if I made as much money as you made, I could do this, but I'm living paycheck to paycheck, buddy. I don't have enough money. It's nice to talk wealth building when you're making a big, fat paycheck, but I don't make a big, fat paycheck. That's a lie. And let me explain why I say it's a lie. The NBA, the National Basketball Association, the average player makes over $10 million a year. I didn't say $10 million in their lifetime. I said $10 million in a single year. And yet, after 5 years of retirement, 60% of them are broke, according to the Netflix documentary Broke. The NFL is even worse. After 2 years of retirement, 78% of them are either bankrupt or in serious financial stress. That's according to Sports Illustrated. Now, let me tell you about Dale Schroeder, a basketball-loving carpenter who made average to below average income his entire life, but he chose to live on less than he earned and invest the difference wisely. He ended up with a $3 million portfolio. That's more money than most of the NBA and the NFL players have after they retire for 5 years. And this guy, he made peanuts compared to what they made. And what I found when I made the compass was this: making money is different than building wealth. Those basketball and football players, they were pros at making money. I mean, how many people do you know make over $10 million a year? Not very many, okay? Yet they were terrible, not all of them, but most of them were terrible at building wealth. Dale Schroeder, on the other hand, he was pretty poor at making money. I mean, he really didn't do that good of a job, but he was a master at building wealth. And once you understand these are two separate skill sets, you can do it on any kind of income. It changes the perspective. You're no longer a victim anymore. You have an opportunity no matter where you are or what level of income you're making.
Love that. I love that. And that sports analogy, I know got a lot of friends that watch and listen to the show. I know they know it, but I don't know how much they really, really understood how much money these people do not have.
Exactly.
This is powerful. So you said a little while ago that the information in the compass was simple. I mean, you got fired at 63, almost no savings, almost no retirement, to being financially free at age 69. Help us make sense of that, because we see and we hear gurus. I've had gurus on this platform. This feels different to me in a good way. Yeah. Tell me how this is simple to do this, man.
Well, first, let me tell you, I'm the anti-guru. Okay, I am no more of the guru. I don't belong on Wall Street. Wall Street would throw me out of Wall Street. They say, you don't belong here, buddy. Get the heck out of here. I bet. But here's what I did, and this is something that a lot of people feel like maybe it's even almost impossible. I doubled my portfolio 3 times in a short 6-year period, and I wasn't day trading. I wasn't trying to chase crypto or time the market. I was doing something so simple and boring, it would put you to sleep. And here's the crazy thing about it. When the market was down, I was thrilled. When other people were panicking and selling, I was buying more shares at discount prices. My only regret, is I wish the market was down more during that 6 years period because I'd done even better. But here's the math that really surprised me. There's a thing in finance called the rule of 72. And what it says is, if you're going to get 10% return on your money, which is not at all impossible in the market if you do it right, you'll double your money every 7.2 years, or roughly every 86 months. Once I got my compass in place and started following it, my first double occurred in just 30 months. My second one, 13 months. My third one, 29 months, for an average of 24 months, which is way less than half the expected time period. But the secret wasn't the returns. I was doing 3 things that I hadn't done for 40 years, but I finally figured out that made all the difference. The first thing I was doing is I was saving a good portion of my income every month. I realized I had a short runway. It was more like a helicopter pad than a runway. Actually, I didn't have time to mess up anymore. I didn't have time to make mistakes. I needed to get serious about putting money away. The second thing I did was I got in the right kind of investments. What I'm talking about specifically is low-cost index funds. Now, I only own 2 of them. You couldn't make it simpler than this. Here's the 2 I own. One, I own every publicly traded stock in the United States. One fund buys me a little tiny slice of every stock in the United States. My other fund, I own every publicly traded stock outside the United States. So, I literally own every publicly traded stock on the planet. For me to go to zero, the entire world economic system would have to collapse to nothing. And if that happens, we have a lot bigger problems than money. So I'm not too worried about that. I sleep very well at night. It's very diversified. Diversification is amazing. The last thing I did was I used market volatility to work for me instead of against me. Too many people are in the cycle of buying high and selling low because they let their emotions take over. Once I figured out the system and understood how to do it, I used it to my advantage. And I was buying when things were down, not when they were up. Well, I bought when they were up too, but I bought when they were down most of the time. And that made all the difference. I was able to build my wealth twice as fast with half the risk. Here's the messed up how we think as people. When you go to the department store and you see 50% off, do you ever say, hey, I don't want to pay no 50% off. I want the full retail price on the thing. When's it going back at the rate? No one does that. That's crazy. You'd be a nut. But yet with the stock market, that's what they do every day. Oh, the market's down by 50%. I got to pull my money out. I got to get. No, that's when you want to get the good deals. That's what, for 200-year history, every time the market has gone down, it is not only fully recovered, it has gone on to reach new heights. 200 years tells me it's a pretty safe bet that the thing's going to come back up. So buy it when buy it I bought it every month when it's low, high, and in between. That's kind of in a capsule of what happened.
I love it, man. I got a few more questions. I'm enjoying this.
Sure.
When I say the words financial freedom, what's that mean to you? I know when I've said it to myself, when I heard people say it to me in the course of business and commerce, it seems like it's different for each person. Mm-hmm. But when I asked David Nassief what financial freedom means to him, what's that mean?
To me, it's real freedom. It's freedom to be able to do whatever you want. It's freedom that your portfolio is making enough money that you no longer have to work and you can live a comfortable lifestyle, whatever you want. But I think before you can get the financial freedom, you got to get the mental freedom. Can I share with you an experience that it was my rock bottom moment? It wasn't the day I got fired this was my real rock bottom moment. I had been fired now. No, wow. This was even worse. Okay. This happened a number of weeks after that. Okay. What happened was I was sending out resumes. No one wanted to interview me. No, I got an interview. They thought I was, no, forget it. They were thinking, why would we hire someone 63? We can hire someone half your age for a third of the price. We're not, that was basically the reception. But anyways, one day my wife said, honey, there's a big sale going on at the grocery store. Can you come with me? I want to get a lot of groceries because she's trying to conserve money. She's such a wonderful person. Okay. I said, sure, I'll go with you. I had nothing else to do. Why not? So I get to the store and here's the thing. I get there and I felt like I was the only man there. All women and babies in their baby carts, babies crying. I'm sure that wasn't the case, but that's how I felt. And I'm walking in that store feeling like I don't belong here. I should be working, providing for my family. I felt like I had a sign on my chest, the biggest loser. And I really felt like that. When my wife was checking out, I literally was starting to feel like I was in a straitjacket, a corporate straitjacket. That was my image of me. Corporate guy, new company car, first class travel, excellent pay. That was how, and they threw me away. They says, we don't want you anymore. And I didn't want to be thrown away. And I think I wanted to get back out and work and make money, but I couldn't. And I felt like I was literally in a mental straitjacket. That night I went home and I realized the corporate world was telling me very clearly, you're of no value to us anymore. End of discussion. So then I said to myself, okay, I need to let the guy that's hiding inside of me out, because I can't hide in there anymore. He needs to come out, and we need to fight this thing together, because if he doesn't come out, I'm not going to win this battle. And I pulled him out, and we went and we fought until we succeeded. That was my lowest month. That's when I really felt free. I hadn't even made the money yet, but I says, I am in charge now of my destiny. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to make this thing work. And have you ever heard the saying, pray like everything depends on God, and then get up and work like everything depends on you? That's all I did for those 10 months period. I was just praying and working. That's all I was doing. And then it just, everything came together. And looking back on it now, I remember reading a story. Somebody was in a dark period like I was in their life, and they were praying to God. They were saying, please relieve me of this pain. Relieve me of this burden, God, please. And the answer they got in their mind in their prayer was, I love you too much to deny you of this experience. And that was true for me. I didn't want it. I was kicking and fighting, but I am so grateful that God allowed me to have that experience, and he blessed me with the Spirit to guide me out of that nightmare, because I am a stronger, more clear, focused person and than I ever was. And if I hadn't had the experience, I wouldn't be. And I'm grateful every day in my prayers, and I feel like I should send that company that fired me a fruit basket and a thank you letter for firing me, because I didn't have the guts to quit. I should have quit 8 years earlier. I knew it wasn't right for me, but who quits in their 50s when they're making great money and there's no other options out there? I didn't have the courage. I'm admitting to you on your show, I didn't have the courage to quit. So they did me a gift. And it was a blessing that I needed to have.
If you could find a fruit basket in this day and time, that'd be, I'd like to see it. that phrase reminded me of how old I am when you say fruit basket. Like, fruit basket, oh wow.
I know.
All the youth that I had was heaped away when you said that. I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, I'm not young. I love it. In your assessment, when you look at what has been going on, what do you think people's biggest financial mistake is?
Oh, thank you for asking that question.
Might say, oh, I buy too much expensive stuff, or I don't save enough. What do you think is the real biggest mistake that people make in their finances?
Thank you for that question. That's a perfect question. I tell you, the biggest financial mistake people make they are paying tiny termite-sized fees that inflict quietly termite-like destruction on their portfolios. Let me explain what I'm talking about. You got two people, A and B, both just starting their career. Say they're 25. They're going to work till they're 65. They got 40 years ahead of them. They both decide wisely they're going to put money aside every week for their retirement. And so they decide to put a modest $25 a week aside for their investments for retirement. Person A puts it in a low-cost index fund with a 0.03% annual management fee. Person B goes to an advisor who charges a full 1%, which is standard, and they put him in an active fund, which has a 5.75 upfront load and a 0.66% ongoing management fee, which is not uncommon at all. Okay, now let's fast forward 40 years, to 65. Same market conditions, same contributions. Person A has a $1 million portfolio on a modest $25 a week investment. Person B has a $570,000 portfolio with the same contributions every month, the same market returns, the same market conditions. The only difference was the fees, quietly, weekly and monthly and annually eating away at the portfolio. And this is assuming they never got a raise. If we factored in normal raises, that difference of $430,000 would be even bigger. But here's the tragedy, a bigger tragedy. Person B probably feels like he got great service. He loved his advisor. He's a great guy. They knew the kids' names. They went golfing a couple of times. Little did he realize he did the equivalent of funding someone else's retirement with half of his own money. That's the biggest thing. And I'm embarrassed to admit, I'll admit this on your show, I'm embarrassed to admit the show, I didn't question fees for 40 years. I thought those were just the rules of the game. Once I made my compass, I realized the rules we don't question can cost us the most. In person B's case, it cost him $430,000. That's what I think is the biggest mistake people make.
Wow. All right. I know I'm running out of time, but I'm not running out of questions. So
Okay.
I got to try to make this work. So help me out. Keep me
Okay.
honest here. Give me as concise responses as possible. I got like about 5 more questions that I got to hear your answers on.
Okay.
All right. So we got like 5 minutes left. I'm like, how am I going to get this done? Oh, man. I'll give you more time. No worries. All right. So does the compass cover other things in life outside of finances? Is it helpful for other things too?
Well, in a way, yes, but not directly. I'm going to be honest with you. Let me just show it to you real quick because it makes sense so you can see it. It's 2 columns. One column is the 5 trail markers. This tells you how to get to financial freedom from wherever you are right now. A lot of financial books, they forget to put this down. Career and income success. They assume most financial, you already make good money. That's why you're reading my book. So you don't need. No, that's not true. Not everyone's making good money. A lot of people are they're underpaid, underemployed, underappreciated, and that's a problem for them. So that's why my first 2 chapters are all about increasing your income and increasing your quality of your career. Then it goes to different things. So you just start with wherever you're at. So say I got a good career, but I'm in debt, David. I got credit card debt. Well, then you go to number 3 and just start from wherever you're at and go down the list from that point on. The other side keeps you out of trouble. These are the North Star principles. This is sometimes you see the shiny object or the new opportunity and you get off track and all that kind of thing. This keeps you on track. So this keeps you safe. And then the last thing is the navigation things. So say you're on step 3 and you want to get out of debt and you go, okay, that's nice to say it, but David, how do I do it? It says chapter 4. Then what you do is you just go to the book and you see chapter 4 and it gives you the details on how to get out of debt and the easy way to do it, the simple way to do it, no complication, no have to get advisors and all this other, pay money to people, that kind of thing. And so basically they work. This is the 30,000 foot view. This is the roadmap. Turn right here, turn left here, the more details. And when you put them together, you've got a clear direction. And like I say, clear direction beats misdirected speed every time. And that's when they go together. And that's so to answer your question, that's what
I love it. And you answered 2 questions for me. I asked you if you had to have money, to accomplish what's inside the compass. And you think you already answered that. So very good. I'm impressed. I got a comment coming in from a friend of ours at the Back It Up Binge podcast, good buddy of mine. He says, I watched too many people adjust their lifestyles up to new levels of income and never save. Not what you make, what you do with it.
That's a smart person. That's so true. What happens is, like we talked about the professional athletes or anybody, somebody gets a raise. The first thing they do is they take their lifestyle up to the raise. I say, why not take half that increase in pay you got, or a third of it at least, and put it in investments. You can still increase I'm not saying live like a monk. No one wants to live like a monk. I'm not telling people to do that, but I'm just saying live realistically. Don't live like the basketball stars, please. Okay, let's live within our means, and then save a portion of it, not all of it, a portion of it. That's where I'm saying. So wise observation on that person's.
Absolutely. What? This is the kind of question I asked at the end, but I'm not close to being done yet. But what would you say to the younger you based on what you experienced? I know you're probably going to yell at the younger David, but
I would.
What kind of advice would you give to younger David?
I would say wake up and stop procrastinating. Let me give you a couple statistics, younger David, and maybe this will wake you up, okay? Mm-hmm. National Council on Aging says the following: 80% of older adults are facing financial insecurity. I'm not saying like 10% or 15% or 20%. I'm saying 80% of people in this free company are facing financial insecurity. Oh my gosh, they all were like David, procrastinating. 50% of people, 60 plus, do not have sufficient income to cover their basic needs. I'm talking housing, food, and healthcare. That's half the senior population. These are people, and the number one cause for gut-wrenching stress among seniors is the fear of running out of money before they run out of life. These are people who worked hard for 40 years. They played by the rules. They were loyal employees, but the problem is they were making other people rich and not themselves. I say, younger David, stop wasting your time and get going now. It's not hard. It's not complicated, but you got to start somewhere. Figure out where you're at in the compass and just start from where you're at. That's what I would tell them.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you, sir. You've done something that people, I've known people for decades that are still trying to figure out, and you've done that. So I definitely highly recommend that people check out your work. I'm definitely going to promote it. I put mine and my wife's emails inside there for the compass. She watches the show. She'll find out she's going to get an email from a guy named David. She'll find it out shortly. But I'd love to ask you this question. And that'll be the penultimate question for you, that before the last one. How do you want to be remembered?
How do I what?
At the end of the day, how do you want to be remembered?
How do I want to be
know
remembered?
Yes.
I really would love to be remembered by the guy who helped me avoid the disaster that he faced at 63. That's my mission here. It's just
Okay.
avoid the disaster. And one of the ways to do that, have you ever read a book and it was really a good book and you says, hey, I love that idea. I'm going to use that and it's going to change my life. Then 2 years later, you run across that idea and you go, oh yeah, I kind of forgot about that. Well, I knew that was because that's how I did it. So what I did with this compass is what I do is I have on my calendar every Friday at 4 o'clock on my electronic calendar, I have a 2-minute meeting with myself on this compass, figuring out where I'm at, because I know where I'm at now, and where I want to go next, and how to keep out of trouble. One of the things on this North Star thing is about impulse buys. A couple weeks ago, I made an impulse buy. When I had my 2-minute meeting, I realized I did that. And I says, I didn't follow the rule. Wait 24 hours before you make the purchase to see if it's real, true. Well, you know what the thing is? I caught myself though. Yeah, I made the impulse buy, but I didn't let it to get to be huge numbers. That very next week when I had a meeting, I caught it. That's the power of a 2-minute meeting every week with your compass is you catch these problems before they get big and you stay on the right path. Because I'm the shiny object guy. If anybody, I get distracted so easy. I made this dummy proof for someone like me. I really did.
Well, you kind of hedged that being considered a financial expert. I've had people that I've connected with, sat in rooms with, had them on the other end of this microphone. And in my opinion, when I put captions out on social media and I promote this show, it's going to say financial expert David Nassief.
Okay.
I don't care how you got here. You are, if you're doing something that the rest of us have been trying to figure out, that's legit. So you've accomplished financial freedom, and I applaud you, brother. I'm definitely excited to hear and learn more. I'd love for you to close out our show with just answering this one question, and of course, expound on it, speak to the people as you see fit. But first off, let folks know where they can find your work.
Yep.
And then I'd love for you to tell people who are in their 50s and 60s who probably are listening to this and or watching this at least, who might think, you know what, too late for me.
Okay.
Because honestly, even when I met you, I felt like, you know what, it's going to take something miraculous for me to get out of where I'm in.
Yeah.
It's going to take a big boom in reverse, a financial big boom for me to get out of the mess that I'm in for myself. So what do you tell people who are in their 50s and 60s who think it's too late? And then, of course, let folks know where they can find your work. Whatever order you want to do that in, go for it right now.
Well, first, I'd like to talk to people who are feeling that quiet desperation I felt when I was 63. I'm just here to tell you, this is not your ending. It's just your beginning. You just need clarity. My mission is to share this one page of clarity so no one has to feel the terror I did. If you go to onepagewealthcompass.com, download your free one-page compass. It strips away all the noise and confusion. It gets you the 9 trail markers with a set it and forget it peace of mind. And most importantly, the book provides the final piece. Simple clarity that few people ever achieve when it comes to finances. I would like everyone to remember, clear direction beats misdirected speed every time. When I got this compass, I suddenly, in 6 years, did more than I did in the previous 40 years. That's the power of clear direction. Just go to onepagewealthcompass.com and get your free one-page wealth compass and start today.
Thank you, sir. Wow. David, you're a delight, brother. Thank you so much for coming in and sharing your life so transparently. The things that you said, I'm like, those are knockdowns. People wouldn't have got off of the mat. A lot of people, but you did get up. It's a true Rocky story. You got up, you fought back, and you knocked them out, and now you're the champion, man. So thank you again for sharing your insights on financial freedom. I'm gonna do all I can to send folks your way and let them know about the great work that you're doing, man. The onepagewealthcompass.com. Check it out. It's going to be in the show notes already and in all of the social media episodes that are posted under the videos. Onepagewealthcompass.com. David, thanks again for your time, for being here today, sir.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure, pure pleasure. Appreciate it.
The pleasure's all mine. So for all you guys watching, listening for the very first time, thanks again for hanging in, making us part of your week. We're live on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Of course, we'll have some clips on other platforms throughout the course of the day. And of course, in I think the second week of May, you'll find this episode on our listening platform. So thanks again for watching and listening. Support us on our YouTube channel. Go to youtube.com right now, youtube.com @ They Call Me Mr. U. Give me a subscription. You know, all the help I can get out there to help us keep this production going. And of course, if you want to support us financially, there's small ways you can do that. We got a Patreon and a Buy Me a Coffee link in the show notes. You can check it out there if you want to support this guy, his 4 shows, trying to change the world with 4 podcasts. Love to have your help with that. So thanks again for watching and listening. That's David Nassief, the financial genius and creator of One Page Wealth Compass. I'm Mr. U, the host of the Everyday Edge podcast and one-on-one with Mr. U. Have a great day. Thanks again for watching and listening. See you guys.